Hey guys, it's Elon from Inside Fighting. This episode is going to be a little bit more serious. I know it's a lighthearted channel. I joke around a lot, but I want to talk about my lifelong journey with autoimmune disease and how I found out about it. This video is really for anyone going through chronic illness, chronic injuries, mental health issues, God forbid something more serious. There's some tricks I learned along the way and some tactics I've used to help myself that really got me through the darkest times. And I'm just going to be upfront and tell you all about it, kind of my journey, because autoimmune diseases are just becoming more and more common nowadays. Anyway, I grew up from a very young age. By the way, no cheesy intro. I apologize. There's no do in this one. But from a young age, I had stomach problems and skin problems. I got diagnosed with psoriasis very young, probably around 10 years old. And it was kind of manageable and under control. It was embarrassing. I'd get it on my face. People would laugh at me. And by the time I was 15, I ended up in the hospital numerous times from vomiting repetitively. I couldn't stop, severe gastric pains, flu-like symptoms all the time. And, people didn't take it seriously back then. I come from two parents who are very tough. My mom escaped the Middle East. She's an Iraqi woman. She's a tough Iraqi woman. My dad's an Eastern European Jewish guy whose family was pretty much wiped out in the Holocaust. And they both just had very rough upbringings. And so to them, this is kind of a thing that, deal with it. You're sick, deal with it. And I ended up in the hospital at 15 years old, and there was so much blood that the doctors diagnosed me with Crohn's. And it was just hard for my dad to look at that and say, my son has Crohn's. He was like, no one else in our family has it. My son doesn't have this. And so we kind of ignored it. And I went on that way for most of my life. Fast forward to about 8 years ago. And I'm a hardcore athlete, training every day, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and just a tough dude and teaching, best shape of my life. And then one day I lose feeling in my leg. Now, you wouldn't normally think about this, but my foot became very floppy. It was just hard to control. So I was like, oh, maybe I herniated a disc, or maybe there's compression on a nerve, because I had hurt my back before. Anyway, I went to go to a doctor, a spine surgeon or spine specialist, and he said, we have to do an emergency MRI. You have no neurological activity in your leg after running some tests. He said, that's not normal. It's not a good sign. Anyway, I go to sleep and I wake up 8 a.m. to a voicemail that says, hey, we found a mass in your spine. It explains your symptoms. You have to come back right away. We have to do more tests. Now, my heart just went vroom. My whole perception of reality just went vroom. It's very hard to explain what went through my mind in that moment, because to me, mass equaled cancer. And they said they found a mass. And I'd seen people in my own family who had cancer. I'd seen close friends. And it's just a very scary thing. And so your mind right away goes into holy shit mode. Worst case scenario. Now, this is lesson number one. Your perspective of a situation does not equal reality. And so I sometimes am a pessimist in the sense that I'll get news, hey, you have a mass in your spine, and my mind goes to, I'm dead in the next 6 to 10 months. This is cancer. Anyway, I go in and I do the tests. They do another MRI with contrast, and I had to drink some stuff. They injected me with stuff. They ran other tests. And they said, you're going to go straight from doing those tests to the oncologist. We're not even going to make you wait. We're going to be waiting here for you. This is how good these doctors were. And they told me the second I walked through the room, they had smiles on their faces. And they're like, Elon, it didn't light up on the MRI with the contrast. The other test came back negative. We're 99.9% sure that this is not cancer. And I'm right away top of the moon. And they go, but whatever it is going to stop you from being able to walk if you don't do this emergency surgery. There's about a 5% chance, if you don't do this emergency surgery, that you're going to be handicapped for the rest of your life. And they said, even with the surgery, there's a 50-50 chance that your whole body is going to be messed up, because we have to cut the dural sac, and it's like a water balloon. And if we don't close up the dural sac properly, we can never go back in and fix it, and spinal fluid will leak into your body for the rest of your life. Now, you would think this would be tragic news, but my mind was so focused on you're going to die that the idea of being handicapped was kind of secondary to that. I was almost happy to hear, hey, there's a good chance you're not ever going to be able to walk properly again. Anyway, my dad, being the angel he is, and this is not the first time he's done this with my disease, as much as I said before he didn't want to deal with it, over the years he learned to, he came right away and helped me out. And my dad has been a consistent in my life. So 2 lessons here. Number 1, without a support system, and I mean this, I really would have probably ended my life at certain times throughout the things I've been through. Without having people I could turn to in my darkest times to be able to give some of that to them, I don't know if I'd be here today. Now, if you're going through mental health issues, if you're going through anything serious, sorry, I get emotional about this, but if you're going through anything serious, this is the number one thing that can save your life. The exact way you feel today is not necessarily how you're going to feel in a week. It's not necessarily how you're going to feel in a month. It's not necessarily how you're going to feel in a year. The moment you have right now, although it might feel eternal, is not. It's temporary. And sometimes giving a little bit of that to someone else, even if you think they can't understand you, will off-burden it enough that you can make it another day. Lesson number 2, or lesson number 3 that we're at by now, is that expectation versus reality is exactly the equation for happiness and exactly the equation for depression. If I would have gone into that doctor's office expecting to hear that I was totally fine, and I was told, hey, there's a large chance you're going to be handicapped, I would have been depressed as hell. But I went into that doctor's office thinking I'm going to die. And I was told, hey, you're not going to die, but you might lose the use of one of your legs, or, potentially never walk properly again. And to me, that was a net win. The exact outcome, the exact information I was given this is exactly the same, but the way I came into that room was very different. And I've learned over the years to really manage my expectations of my health, manage my expectations of my identity, and more. The best way I can explain chronic illness, both mental health and physical, for me personally, is imagine holding your arm out in front of you, and you're just holding it there, and it's easy at first, right? No one's going to look at you and say, that's hard. But if you hold it there for a couple minutes, it starts getting heavier. If you hold it there for 10 minutes, it's becoming really heavy. After an hour, it's almost unbearable. And from there on forward, it just gets harder and harder and harder and breaks you. Just the simple task of holding your arm out in front of you. That's what chronic illness is like. It's like having this thing that in the moment doesn't appear to be difficult. It's just one moment, but it's there constantly. It nags at you. It doesn't let you escape it. It's like having a backpack on that no one can see and filling it with heavy rocks and just walking that way every day. And people expecting you to walk like a regular person and not understanding, why does this guy have such a burden on his shoulders? Well, he's carrying a bag of rocks on his back that no one can see. And that's what these things are. They break you down slowly. It's easy in a moment. It's hard over time. Anyway, I continued on this journey. I didn't do the surgery. I had a doctor friend who said, listen, Elon, I know you. That 5% chance they give is to people who aren't trained martial artists. It's to people who don't know how to push through pain. It's for people who don't know how to be consistent. And so when you look, 95% of people give up along the way. You're in the 5% who won't. He's like, I want you every day to just train your mind, neuroplasticity, to just work your body, train your mind, work your body. And every day I'd imagine my foot moving. Every day I think about my foot moving, move your foot, move your foot, move your foot. And slowly, my foot started getting feeling again. It started moving again. And it was an incredible thing to be able to go from not being able to feel my foot to being able to move my foot to then being able to do light calf raises. And you can ask my dad. He saw me walking when I had the floppy foot. I couldn't even tell where the ground was. It was the weirdest thing. I had no proprioception at all. And over time, without the surgery, I beat the odds and I started walking again. Within 6 months, I was running again. Within a year, I was training jiu-jitsu again. And I've had to change the way I train. I know a lot of people like to believe we're tough, we're infinitely tough. Ilia Topuria, Anderson Silva, every great fighter in the world, Mike Tyson. Age will always get them. We see it. We see people in their prime and we see people post their prime. Time will get the best of us. You will never be invincible forever. And so it's a hard thing to accept. And this is lesson number 4, that my identity is not the thing I do. There's me, and then there's the things I do. Martial arts is a thing I do. Me perceiving myself as a highly capable man, physically, being able to lift heavy things, being able to toss people around is a thing I do, but it is not who I am. It does not define me, and that thing can be taken away from me, and it will not change my value as a human being. And you see this a lot with pro athletes. They don't know who they are when their career ends because they became the thing they are doing. That's so dangerous, and it's a pathway to destruction because your identity, who you are, your value is way greater than that. These little tricks. I'm not going to make this video much longer. You know, it's been probably 10 minutes of me rambling here, and I know nobody really wants to hear this. But if you're going through autoimmune disease, or you're going through mental health issues, like I said, or you're going through chronic illness, those are the things I want to tell you. That you might think that there's no bright future ahead. There is. Your expectation of how you're going to feel might be very different than the reality of how you're going to feel given some time. Your identity is not the things that you are capable of doing. It is far greater than that. You are more than just the thing you do. You are so multifaceted as a human being. And again, always find ways. And this was a big thing for me, to find ways to adapt my training, to improve my training. I still do have a tough guy mentality. That's not going anywhere. I still do Kyokushin hard. I love Kyokushin hard sparring. I still do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I've toned it down tremendously. Jiu-Jitsu is the hardest one on my body for some reason. And I'm looking for people I can flow more with because of the joint injuries. But anyway, that's it. Stay positive. I hope you got something out of this video. The channel's grown a little bit, so I felt like it was time to talk about this again. I did a long time ago. So thanks for watching, guys. And if you're going through something, it's just today. It's not the rest of your life. Don't ever give up.